We have this from Axios. Democratic establishment melts down over Mamdani's win in New York. The threat is a socialist who is defeating the establishment Democrat Cuomo. We're going to see more of this affecting the rest of the country. Now, I wanted to start off with this, but I do kind of have just a continuing point from the last segment. And that is right now, one of Zohran's policies is that he will defy federal law enforcement intentionally and by force. I would call that sedition, and more. I would call that more than beyond the opposing the interests of America. I would call it a declaration of war. A foreign-born individual comes to this country and then literally campaigns on, if you are here illegally in violation of this country's laws, just know we will use force to stop the United States and the people of the United States from coming after you. I mean,
are you referring to what he said about keeping ICE out of?
Yes. Yeah. And saying we will. He said we're going to keep our families here and not let Trump come in and take them away. He's basically saying there is a structure of government that has agreed upon rules and laws. You, my friends, have come here in violation of the laws and the will of the American people, and by God, I will use force to stop them from harming you, and we will defeat them. Yeah, I would call that an invasion.
This is also a foreigner who's trying to seize American-owned businesses with his plan for privately owned grocery stores to basically get repossessed by the municipal government to
Is he
freeze
seizing
prices.
businesses, or is he just making? I mean, I think the government-owned grocery store thing is crazy, and I was tweeting about it.
Well,
I think you shared my thing about the.
Okay, maybe I'm phrasing it a little bit melodramatically, but yes, that is basically what he said. He wants grocery stores that exist already,
he wants to create
owned.
government-run grocery stores, which
I don't think he wants to create them. He wants to take the ones that are privately owned currently and make them publicly owned.
Well, he said create a network of city-run grocery stores.
Right. He wants, I think, the first proposal was 5. I don't think he's going to be seizing Kroger or something.
He may as well just come out and say, I am not from your country. I have been a citizen for 7 years. I will use force if necessary to protect those who illegally entered your country in violation of your laws, and I will enact policies that destroy your local economy.
I mean, it has to make sense for people to say, all right, this guy has, like Tim said, he's only been here for 7 years.
No, he's been there longer. He's an American
citizen. He's only been a citizen for 7 years, and he is going to, to facilitate illegal immigrants coming into the country. He's going to provide them with benefits from the government.
I'm sorry. He's going to facilitate criminal activity in the United States.
He's going to facilitate criminal activity. He's going to provide them with state benefits from New York State. He's going to inhibit the federal government from enforcing the law. I understand that, people are like, oh, we're a democracy and blah, blah, blah. This is not about democracy. This is expropriating the property of American citizens on behalf of criminal aliens here. This can't be acceptable by the American
He's basically saying, through force, we will take your land, give up. And we have a couple options. We can say, sure, let him do it. Let him protect more illegal immigrants who come in and in violation of the laws of this land and its people. So our laws mean nothing. And then we'll sit back and just watch as he does.
I mean, I think there are plenty of issues to take. I mean, this is actually a policy debate. So that's, I mean,
I completely disagree.
I would like to restate clearly and strongly that this is about way more than policy. And that reminds me of something I
policy is what votes
today,
should be based on. So I'm saying that is a good thing. I'm saying that.
I don't think it's
I was drawing a comparison between Zohran Mamdani and Vivek Ramaswamy because they have diametrically opposed policy views, but rub people exactly the same wrong way because they are foreign strivers with a chip on their shoulder who don't understand this culture and want to tell us as Americans what an expression of American values is. They have no place with that temerity.
Wasn't Vivek born here?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was born in Ohio.
It doesn't really matter because he was raised with different values.
It's a bit different.
He was raised with different values.
To your point, like I have so many friends who have values that are so different than mine, and I don't want to kick them out of the country. I want to convince them that my values are better. That's what you should be doing.
Sure. Let's pause because I agree on that. But this is not the debate with Zohran. The debate with Zohran is 10+ million people over 4 years entered our country in violation of our laws. And we have these laws in place for a reason. They have committed a crime against us. And Zohran says, don't worry, I will use law enforcement apparatus to stop the people of the United States from enforcing their laws. So I call that an invasion.
I mean, I think that you can call it an invasion, but I mean, I think words have meaning, and I wouldn't say it's an invasion. I mean, I agree that we have to have law and order, and I don't agree that this guy stands for it. But I think when we use words like invasion or incursion or whatever, the vast majority, of course, some immigrants who come here do not have America's best interests at heart. But a lot of people are coming for economic opportunity. They don't have good opportunity in Mexico.
Selfish.
Well, to be honest, if I clubbed you over the head and took your wallet, it's because I wanted an economic opportunity. We don't tolerate that. When they enter our country illegally for an opportunity, and then Gen Z can't afford to buy a house, and they're living 3 people in a bachelor apartment, I got a problem with that. And that's in New York City. This guy comes around, whispers sweet nothings into the ears of all the dumb young communists who don't realize he's the one burning the city down and making sure that their lives will never improve. So I say the DOJ, so should he win, because we don't know if he actually wins, that there could be a coalition victory if
Eric Adams is still going to run, right?
Yeah, if Sleewood drops out, Cuomo's already announced he's going to be dropping out. If they endorse Adams, maybe Adams wins. If this man does win, and he does actually take even the tiniest millimeter step towards obstructing ICE, the DOJ should bring sedition charges against him and remove him from government in New York City and occupy the city if they have to.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the charges should be. I don't know if it's actually sedition or not, but there should be charges for preventing the federal government from carrying out.
This is an issue of weakness, weak will, weak spine. When a man who is foreign-born publicly declares he will do everything he can to protect people who have illegally entered your country from another, and he will violate federal law to do so, we have 2 options. Let them keep doing it and give up, or say, listen, let me pause. I personally am not calling for anything other than what the law already says.
I don't think that there would be a criminal charge that applies.
Sedition.
I don't think that would be applicable under criminal law.
Why not?
Because there's a distinction between federal law and local law and state law. I mean, you can say it's immoral, or you could say it's wrong, but I guarantee you there's no way to bring sedition charges against him. I will also just say one thing. I was in New York City last night for work, and I was, perfect timing, and I was talking to people who voted. We chatted about this a little bit before we started filming, and 2 of the people I talked to did rank him number 1, I think. And I think people, and neither of them I would describe, one of them is definitely not a Democrat, and the other one I would not describe as a staunch Democrat, certainly not a socialist. And I think people really underestimate how many people, the reaction to Cuomo, and how much they disliked Cuomo, and how much they didn't want to see that again. I think a lot of this was an anti-Cuomo sentiment. I don't necessarily think it's a pro-Mamdani sentiment. And I will also say about Cuomo, it really, really bothers me that so many people see the final nail in his coffin as the sexual harassment scandal, which I'm not saying sexual harassment is ever okay. But the fact of the matter is this is a person whose policies helped kill a bunch of old people. And then he lied, altered data, lied to the taxpayer, and went on TV and said, unironically, that incompetent government kills people and that people value the truth.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think one could describe obstructing ICE officers from engaging in a deportation? Would that be aiding and abetting the illegal immigrant?
I do not believe so under current criminal law. I mean, I'm not an attorney.
So let's try this. There is a guy, and the police are like, we are going to deport him right now, and so you physically obstruct the police.
Physical obstruction is a crime. Yes, that would be a crime.
So that would be like aiding and abetting.
I don't know what the exact term would be.
You're aiding in the escape of an illegal immigrant.
It would, yes. It's like the judge who got arrested in Wisconsin under federal charges.
So when we're looking at the law, it's important to understand that it's all interpretable. The First Amendment says we have a right. The government, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of speech. Yet blasphemy laws were in this country for 100+ years.
Yeah,
right?
And I think that's stupid.
But they enforced it.
But I don't agree with it.
Sure.
And the First Amendment would also disagree with it.
But the point was they enforced it despite the First Amendment being in place because how judges interpreted the law mattered. For instance, they're trying to charge these kids in Georgia with a hate crime because
Which is terrible.
but they can interpret it as they want.
Right. I mean, I think all hate crime charges need to go because we need to prosecute bad acts, not ideas.
So Title 8 USC 1324A makes it a crime to aid and abet, to induce or entice illegal immigration. If you are a public official that is outright saying, we will do everything in our power to make sure if you are here illegally, you can stay, and we will stop ICE, you are inducing and you are abetting. And that's a crime. Now, if you want to add on top of it sedition, right, which is actions to undermine the authority of the United States, we could argue that a public official in the biggest city in the country outright saying, we will defy the federal law and make sure the will of the American people be damned to protect you who came here illegally, I say you got a sedition case.
I mean, you can say it, but I don't think anyone would bring it.
Well, because they're cowards.
I just don't think that's technically just not how the law is usually applied. I mean, politicians...
I don't care how it's usually applied. I care that we had 10 plus million illegal immigrants come into this country, spitting in the faces of the younger generation who can't afford houses and can't find work. And now you've got mayoral candidates that are basically saying, we will entrench this and the American people's will be damned. Let me just stress that again. Zohran Mamdani's official public position is the laws of this country and the will of the American voter that elected Donald Trump are shit to him. And he will do whatever he can to make sure the people who broke those laws and spat in the face of Americans are protected. Now, the problem is Republicans are cowards and jellyfish who won't actually enforce the law as it was written and codified for these reasons. Tom Homan's great, but I got to say as well, when Brad Lander physically attacked cops and they arrested him, they didn't bring any charges against him. That's the problem with Republicans. The Trump DOJ said this guy intentionally obstructed ICE proceedings and actually physically resisted arrest and fought with cops. Oh, well, let him go. And you know what? So be it. So don't be surprised if whatever the Constitution says about your belief in the First Amendment becomes nothing, because these people certainly don't agree with your view.
I get it.
You'll have blasphemy laws in 2 seconds.
I will stand up for everyone's right to say things that I find extremely unsavory. It is what I love about the First Amendment. That does not protect popular speech. It protects unpopular speech. Because popular speech and popular people don't usually need protection. And so I think it necessarily requires defending things like burning the flag, burning the American flag. That is your First Amendment protected right. You can think it's disgusting. You can think it's repulsive.
It's not if it's a pride flag, though.
Look, when it comes to
if you steal someone else's flag and burn it, but you can burn your own pride flag.
Not if you ride your scooter over a...
Yeah, and I wrote about that, and I thought that case was insane. And
So let's just recognize that you take the position of let them trample over me.
No, I take the position of people can have terrible speech, and it is their right to have terrible speech. And I can criticize them for it, but I don't want the government knocking at their door.
So basically, here's what's happening. You've got ideological groups beating you over the head with a club, and you're saying, well, they shouldn't. That's it. I think, you know...
What do you suggest I do?
About what?
I mean, you're saying they're beating me over the head. It's true. A lot of people hate what I stand for, and that's their right to hate it. But
so like, I agree with the stealing someone else's flag, but the hate crime charge is the principle.
That's insane. I think all hate crimes need to go because we need to prosecute acts, not ideas.
Agreed. Yes. But your position tends to be, I will defend, like, you're going to offer up to them the ability to do what they're doing and not resist it.
Liberalism is...
I'm only resisting it.
You're not resisting it.
I'm only resisting the government coming and prosecuting them or retaliating against them for their expression. You and I can talk about how terrible it is. For the people who aren't familiar, the case you were referring to was somewhere in the Pacific Northwest where a bunch of teenagers did wheelies or where?
Oh, there's two. They did wheelies
on a mural on the ground.
But the big story right now is in Atlanta. There was a pride crosswalk, and they ripped flags down from a gay bar, went onto the crosswalk and cut them up with knives, and then scooted off.
Right. Hate crime charges for that are insane. Honestly, any charge. You don't have a right to take someone else's property and deface it.
My point is, when you are basically saying, like, so right now we have a guy who may very well become mayor, outright saying, your laws don't apply to me, but my laws apply to you. And you're going, okay.
I mean, I'm not saying okay. I mean, I think what you're...
All right, so let's investigate him and remove him.
If you want to try to change the law to...
Change what law? I don't need to. It exists already. 8 USC 1324 makes it illegal to do what he's proposed to do.
And you think that you're going to be able to arrest and deport him over that?
I didn't say I'm not saying deport. I'm saying criminal charges and sedition if applicable. So I believe that in the event he becomes mayor, If he intentionally obstructs ICE in any way through his orders, commands, law enforcement, or dismantling of the NYPD and creating a socialist social worker organization, the DOJ under Bondi and or whoever should bring about charges under 8 U.S.C. 1324 for inducing, abetting, aiding, or encouraging illegal immigration.
I'm trying to speak carefully here just because I'm not an attorney. I write about a lot of criminal justice issues, but I don't claim to have gone to law school. There is a distinction between literally like physically obstructing law enforcement and as a local official being like, I'm not going to help ICE. The latter is not a crime. I
am saying literally in the event he obstructs ICE, not that he stands back and does nothing.
Okay.
I don't care if he stands back and does nothing.
What is your vision of what does obstructing ICE look like?
He has stated he is going to stop families from being removed from New York is what he described it as.
I guess I just don't even know what that looks like in practice.
Sure. How do you stop someone from getting deported by ICE?
There's videos of it from LA.
You mean like, were you talking about him physically? Like,
well, did you see them chest bumping the cop and screaming in his face?
I mean, that's just, I think it's
maybe I shouldn't say
performance.
Maybe I shouldn't say chest bumping, but he's standing up right in a cop's face screaming.
It's performance art. He's just trying to get attention.
So the point is, when he says he will stop the deportation or the kidnap, whatever words he used, of families, the implication by stopping it from happening is obstruction of ICE. If he said, as mayor, I will step back and do literal nothing when ICE comes in to deport people, I'd say, okay. And do you think he would have won his election if he said that? No, he said, I'm going to stop it from happening.
Well, I think he won for a lot of reasons. For one, as I just said, people hating Cuomo. I think people also hear things like a $30 minimum wage and think that sounds good. I obviously very much disagree with that. But I don't think it's as simple as, just one issue or one thing.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.